Good morning, folks, and welcome to your favorite breakfast show talking about iBrand Daybreak. It promises to be another exciting edition of the show. And I'm Samson Oloyede. It is the Wednesday edition. And I'm not doing this alone. I've got with me the delectable
Margaret Opara. Good morning. Like Samson said, it's your favorite breakfast show. I hope it is, because it promises to be amazing lineup of events from back to back to back to back. But before I give you all the hints of what we have today, I'll just go straight to asking Samson, how are you, Samson?
I'm fine.
You know, whenever I ask you, you do this, you heave this sign. It connotes something else from what you're telling me.
I'm fine.
Or are you the Egypt Nigeria thing?
No, that was great.
That was great, right?
You watched the match?
Yeah, I did. Well, one of the matches I finally compelled to watch, but I was glad I did anyway.
Great. I mean, it's a great time to be in Nigeria.
Someone said for the first time in a while, we are proud of Nigeria. That's what someone said.
No, the person is right. When you consider Super Eagles over the last 2-3 years, it's been nothing to write home about regards the performance, even the results. But I think there's so much to be proud for regards yesterday's performance and, more importantly, the results. It's against Egypt.
Egypt.
And that's a formidable side.
Well, we hope that we'll keep being part of Nigeria in terms of sports.
Definitely, hopefully. It is the African Cup of Nations, and we should win this one.
And for the ladies who want to drag remote with your boyfriends, just get another TV and another decoder. Do not bother dragging at all. Because for someone like Samson, he will not allow you at all.
Well, is there a lady somewhere? That should be the question.
There will be a lady very soon. All right, now back to the discussion of the day. We have from the news update that will be coming right after this whole thing. We have the news update and the paper review segment. And of course, we have the discussion of the day. Please do not go anywhere, because it's going to be an amazing time. And social media posts to just lighten up the mood a bit. So we'll take a very short time out. We'll be right back for the news update.
Swift Dry Cleaners Limited, professional dry cleaners, best in dry cleaning and laundry services, and meets the needs of our consumers. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah, for clean wash and quick delivery. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. For clean wash and quick delivery. Ooh.
Swift Dry Cleaners. Clean wash, quick delivery.
Most people don't understand the magic of a perfect skin, the allure of a well-pampered skin. We bounce from skincare products to skincare products, from spa to spa. Looking for that ideal solution. I found the solution. And it's Blemiville Skincare and Spa. My name is Neil, and I'm proud to be a part of the Blemiville family.
Thanks for staying tuned, folks. Now it's time to bring you up to speed with news update making the rounds at this hour. I'll begin from the local scene, where President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday endorsed the establishment of the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Trust Fund, a private sector investment window through which Nigerians in the diaspora can invest in the country. At the presentation of a compendium entitled Plus 600 Diasporan Icons at 60, The president noted that the foreign exchange remittances by Nigerians in the diaspora have not only helped families but enhanced the development index of Nigeria, while pledging support for the establishment of the Diaspora Intervention Fund to support the Commission to fulfill its mandate.
Now, the Nigerian Labour Congress has directed its members, affiliates, unions and civil society partners to prepare for the planned January 27 and February 1 nationwide protests against the proposed removal of fuel subsidy by the federal government. The Congress also asked its affiliates nationwide to, to mobilize their members for the rallies and ensure total compliance with the nationwide protests. This was the highlight of the meeting with leaders of civil society organizations presided over by the NLC President Ayuba Waba and the Labour House in Abuja on Tuesday.
Now on to security matters. Bandits have levied operators at a gold processing site in Jibia local government area of Katsina State 10,000 naira for uninterrupted running of the site. The site is in Banking Korama community in Magama Jibia border town of the council. Residents disclosed that no fewer than 70 small-scale gold processing centers were operating at the site, which was opened about 2 weeks ago. It was learnt that the bandits imposed the levy on the operators after invading the site on Thursday night and killing 2 of the operators.
Now on the foreign scene, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has formalized his prior announcement that Amina Mohammed of Nigeria will continue in her role as Deputy Secretary General during his second term. The UN said in a statement that in delegating development coordination to the Deputy Secretary General, Guterres set in motion the most ambitious reform in the history of organizations of the development system. It noted that Mohammed's leadership helped advance the conceptual shift from the UN that member states called for the adopting the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's a wrap on news update at this hour. We'll come back after the short break. We'll delve right into the stories making headlines on our national dailies this morning. Please stay with us. have you back on iBrand Daybreak. Now it's time to review some top stories on our national dailies, and I'll begin with The Nation. The top story here says convention. Divided APC governor seeks Buhari's help, with the writer saying BGF meeting shifted. Caretaker committee can be stampeded, and that story is on the page 4 of The Nation. I'll just move further down. Why businesses are shrinking by World Bank. 2020 global forecast down to 4.1%, also on page 4. Of course, there's a picture of the Super Eagles. The writer says, Eagles soar above Pharaohs in AFCON tie. That's the happy story on Lips of Everyone on page 31. So the bottom screen says, new GOCS commands for Army. Oyetola is candidate to beat. That's on page 2. And now to the earpiece of the paper says, excitement over Tinubu's presidential bid declaration. Cost clear for Lekan Balogun at Olubadan. That's on page 27. Governor to get proposal. $130 million contract. Courts remand Saipen, MD and others. Also on page 4. Umahi joins 2023 presidential race. Flags fly at half-mast for ex-head of state Shonekan at another. That's on page 29, and the writer says Buhari, IBB Obasanjo governors Tinubu others mourn. Amina Mohammed back as UN Deputy Secretary General, and finally on page 2, suspected header kills 5 in Ondo State.
Now moving on to the Guardian newspaper, the headline here reads, 2023, like Tinubu, Umahi informs Buhari of interest in presidency. And you have the writer suggest political solution to Southeast insecurity, wants Ohaneze to stay off politics. You also have Kalu, I'll match Tinubu grit for APC presidential ticket. Renews calls for postponement of APC National Convention. Another writer there reads, Oshibajo not threatened by Tinubu's declaration, says support group. You have another writer that reads, National Convention, courts may run affairs of APC stakeholders won. And the final writer there reads, APC poses no threat to PDP in 2023, Wike boost. And on the earpiece of the paper, you have national flag to fly at half-mast as Nigerians pay tributes to Shonekan. That's on page 4. Lost opportunities as Eagles begin on winning notes, beat Pharaohs 1-0. And there you have it on the sports page. There, and on the upper part of the paper, you have $130 million fraud. Court remands Sapiem MD, Peviana, Chinakwe in Port Harcourt prisons. And you also have Buhari Oke's Investment Trust Fund to promote foreign remittances. Bandits kill man, kidnap pregnant wife, children, others in Kaduna. That's on page 5. And you have IPOP disowns enforcers of sit-at-home order, condemns shootings in Enugu. That's on page 7. And finally, on the Guardian newspaper, you have 15 women, 20 children rescued, 50 others feared trapped as church collapses in Delta. You can find that story on page 9 of the Guardian newspaper.
And now we'll move to the Punch. The banner headline of the Punch here says, Buni Malami moved to block convention. Governors rise against interim party chair. That story is on page 2. 3 governors, justice minister push consensus agenda to block Tinubu. Someone is manipulating convention not to hold. Progressive governors DG. That's coming from Progressive governors DG. Malami doesn't hold any position in APC. Plays no role, says the media aide. Umahi meets Buhari, declares 2023 presidential ambition. You can have the story on page 8 and further down to page 5. Again, suspected headsmen strike in Ondo. Killing 2 on farm, gunned down 3 rescuers. And page 5 also says, jealous Lagos husband stabs pregnant wife admirer to death. And of course, there's a picture representation of the jubilation for the Super Eagles as AFCON. Iheanacho Charles Wonder sings Pharaohs as Eagles beat Egypt 1-2-0. Now we'll go to the upper part of paper says, Workers' Union fears job losses as Standard Chartered closes Nigerian branches. Page 25 has the story. 2,248 megawatts of power stranded monthly in 2021 despite blackouts. That's from the GENCOs. Subsidy mobilized for protest. NLC directs affiliates CSOs. And on page 8 says Buhari, Jonathan, Obasanjo, governors mourn ex-head Shonekan as he dies at 85. Federal government overshoots debt servicing by 1.15 trillion naira in 11 months. That's the document on page 25. And finally, Saipem MD accused Accused remanded in court, orders 3 expatriates arrest. You can have that story on page 7 of the Punch. All right, now joining us to make sense of this conversation, we have with us the political technocrat himself, Dr. Dayo Kayode. Good morning, Dr. Dayo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. My pleasure being here this morning as usual. My brother, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice being on set with you today.
Thank you very much.
All right. I was expecting you to talk to him about the ego, super ego thing, but since you did not.
I would have spoken about egos, but you know, sometimes when you eulogize those guys, the next
match
you see them from. So let us just keep mute until when they have been able to
win the trophy.
Win the trophy. Then it is then we can now say hooray.
Hooray. All right. Okay, now let's speak on the story on the SIPEM ND. I think my colleague also read it. I read the story.
The $130 million fraud.
Yeah, what, Dr. Dayo, it's on the news, and it's a thing of more like it's not supposed to be heard of, actually. So what do you have to say about that?
Why are we not going to hear? We heard about that one that happened in Alibotin.
More like it's a fraud.
Exactly.
Do you understand? We have the one that happened in Enron of those days. Do you understand? So why are we not going to have that of SIPEM?
Must there be a recurring event?
You see, it's a recurring event in Nigeria because even foreigners, they know that the best place to make their fraud is Nigeria. Because we Nigerians are the one encouraging them. We have stories about that of Festac 77 buses. You remember?
Yes.
Our people went there to buy buses. They were giving them first-rated buses. But, please, no. Just give us this. The one that can work for so time. Then put this price tag. So they know that we Nigerians, it is in our DNA. More importantly, in this part of the world, we celebrate rogues. By the time you see them, those people that are stealing our money, even when they are being jailed elsewhere, by the time they are coming back, we go and sow Ashwebi to meet them, and we see eulogize them. We see them as our leaders. But if to say we have been ostracizing them from the society, if to say we have been abandoning them at a corner within our polity, then all of them will have sat up. But as much as even those of them that are being in prison here, they will review the case and then be using technicalities. What kind of technicality? Somebody has been adjudged a thief by a competent court of jurisdiction, by a judge that is respected. You now decide to turn back just because some current has passed under the water. You now say, okay, other technicalities. And you see such people tomorrow. Just need to become president of the country. And when you ask such a person as president of the country, what do you expect?
That brings to light, calls for judicial reforms within, that.
It's not about judicial reform now. It's not about judicial reform. It's about no. The person that the judiciary jailed, who released the person? Who was the person that instigated that release?
But there has to be loopholes within the law for lawyers of those accused to be able to pick on those loopholes to bring about the so-called technicalities.
It's a pity that here I've been saying it. Our constitution, there is nothing wrong with our constitution. It's just that we always look at little things and then interpret it the way to suit the situation we are trying to create. You interpret to suit the situation you are trying to create. That's our problem.
But don't you think that if the constitution is not ambiguous, there would be no need to interpret, as you've said?
The law is not ambiguous. The people that are ambiguous themselves. The law is not ambiguous. The constitution is not ambiguous. It is the people that are operating that constitution that are ambiguous in thoughts, deeds, and actions.
But what my colleague is trying, I think what he's trying to say is that the law is in itself, if there are no loopholes, right, to be able to interpret it differently, there won't be a need to.
Do you know that there is nothing that is perfect in the whole world?
Definitely.
So there is no perfect constitution in the whole world. In America, they say adjust their constitution till tomorrow. Yes. Do you understand? But you will not see them using, interpreting their constitution to suit a particular situation they are trying to create. That's what I'm saying. Listen to this. We interpret our constitution to suit a situation that we ourselves are trying to create. Those in power are trying to create. Other than that, if you are to leave our constitution on a level playing ground, you see that our constitution is not as bad as it portrays. Look at this. Series of people have been stealing in this country. What has happened to them? How many have we jailed? They submitted the names of some people. Look, these are the people that are sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. What have we done to it? Is it the same constitution? What have we done to it?
The judicial process to get to that,
what is the process? What is the judicial process?
Folks have called for, it's too lengthy. Folks have said, these whole game of appeal courts and, before it gets to Supreme Court, it takes several years, that the process is too lengthy. And that's because the law, is similarly complex. That's what some folks have argued.
If we are ready to deal with a particular issue,
okay,
expeditiously, you will see that it will happen. You will see that it will happen. Laws are made for men.
Okay.
Not the other way around.
All right, Doctor, this is a good place to stop this conversation now. But we are coming back to you because we have the main topic of the day, right? Just now.
Yes, we'll take the main topic just after this short break. Please do stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. It's still iBrand Daybreak. Now it's time to delve into the topic of discussion. With the 2023 general elections just 13 months away, the race for the presidency has begun in earnest, with APC national leader Bola Tinubu as well as Ebonyi State Governor Umwai declaring their interest for the presidency to the President Muhammadu Buhari. Considering Nigeria's socio-economic and political challenges, the question thus becomes, who is the ideal candidate to run for office that will considerably address the majority of the nation's challenges? Still in the studio to discuss this with us and more is Dr. Dayo Kayode, a renowned public affairs analyst. And then Dr. Dayo.
More like a political technocrat, you mean?
Okay, yeah. Let's, before we delve into what, who and what makes an ideal candidate, in terms of the presidency of Nigeria now, let's look at what the president said just days back in the exclusive interview. He said, and I quote, that, or let me just, paraphrase. That if he discloses his preferred candidate to succeed him, the candidate will be eliminated. Now, that will come as a shock because it probably, gives you an insight to the fact that the person is probably not within the government. But having said that, there's also a possibility it could be within the government, considering we're yet to even bring justice to the killers of, the late former Chief of Defense Staff, Alex Badi, who was assassinated in December 2018. So let's start from there. The president's statement shows you the challenges we'll have this year regarding security, considering it's a pre-election year. So let me get your viewpoint from there.
Then let us also take it to one of the headlines in the papers as regards APC convention. That thing, they have been postponing it all along. Until today. They are still postponing it. And there was a rider there, because I followed you. Yeah. There was a rider there that says somebody somewhere is behind APC not being able to hold that convention. So that is to tell you that with the statement of Mr. President, it can even be pinned. I'm not saying I'm pinning him. He can,
as the commander-in-chief,
he can be pinned.
Definitely.
That is the one causing that trouble there. Bearing in mind so many other things that have happened in the past. But again, there's a Yoruba proverb that says, ilé tí a bá fi tọ́mọ ìrì ló máa ń wó.
Okay. You want to help us there?
Can you repeat that?
Ilé
tí a bá fi tọ́mọ ìrì ló máa ń wó. When you look at the coming together of APC, you're going to see that it's a bed of strange fellows.
Okay.
All right? You know, when you want to build a house, you make a foundation. You use water to mix cement, this is and that.
All of that.
But when you are using your saliva, will you be able to mix it? No. Because those things will not be able to hold together. And that is what we are seeing now. They came together out of malice against the sitting president then. Yes, I'm not saying he was the best president Nigeria can. Do you get? But we are looking at that scenario that played out then and what is playing out now.
No.
Two people had gone to the president indicating their interest.
Although they've not officially declared their interest to Nigerians.
But they went to the president.
That's to the president. Remember in the speech that Bola Tinubu gave, he said that although he has spoken to the president,
he will still
continue.
He will continue consulting. And he now added, but consulting till when, safe. So you can see some kind of trivial statements. But most of us, we can see through the pinhole. Okay? So, if the president is telling you that the person he has anointed to become the president is not yet known, I mean, it might not be lying. Bearing in mind what is happening now. Well, like to that same party.
Well, he said the person he has they asked if he has a favorite candidate. He said yes, he does have a favorite candidate, but he also said he would not interfere in the 2023 election, more like exonerating himself from whatever would happen in 2023. The
projection of free fair.
Yeah, and doesn't play down the fact that he has a preferred candidate, which of course he would not mention for fear of the person being eliminated.
There is nobody, nobody that they will ask to use mouth to divide meat that will not know how to retain some at the corner of his mouth.
Okay.
If I have a TV station tomorrow and there is an interview and you are there among the people that are looking for that particular position in this TV station, tell me, will I not have you at the back of my mind that yes, this is the person I'm going to give? But I won't tell others. If I employ a consultant and that consultant is not picking you, I will not allow what the consultant has picked to see the light of the day. So for president to have said that he is having
a preferred
candidate, and but he will not interfere in I'm sorry, as a sitting president, it's not supposed to have said I don't want to use that word that he goofed. I don't want to say he goofed, but he shouldn't have said that as a sitting president. He shouldn't have said that.
Let's look at the issue of rotational presidency. It's been a long-standing conversation. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ruled in different government offices. Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State also, and now they're still looking for ways into coming to presidency. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his statement said it has always been his dream to be president of Nigeria. And one of the papers yesterday said, he mentioned in quotes, "I am a kingmaker, it's time for me to be king." So we're looking at rotational presidency within the system, rotational leadership in Nigeria. Is that really what Nigeria needs at this moment?
Even at any time, not even at this moment. I'm not a student of rotational leadership. No. Rather, character,
competence,
capacity. Character, capacity. There's another C, which is compassion.
Okay.
Compassion. You might have the capacity. Yes. 2 + 2 is equal to 4. When you do this, it's going to get to this. Or when you do this, it's going to get to that place. When you do this, this is where we're going to be. These are going to be the effects of this and all that, okay? You might also have the character. That, okay, this person, he has a good pedigree. He has not been a thief before. He has not been this and all that. Then compassion. is what really makes a leader in terms of the policies you are dishing out, your character that you are portraying. How are you using those two to affect the people you are leading?
Okay, let's...
I don't know what. How are you using those two to affect the people you are leading in terms of their well-being? In terms of their well-being. Yes, all you need to do is to be importing. We don't need refineries. Okay, good policy. But the one you are importing, how are you using it to affect people's life, to ensure that people are living a standard that can be compared to anywhere in the whole world? To what extent are people being lifted out of penury? To what extent are people having access to good health, good education, good road, electricity? Look at Genco. Genco said a lot of power unused last year. But meanwhile, we are supplying other countries this light, this power. What is happening in Nigeria? So that is where compassion comes in. It's not about rotational now. Okay? Now, let's leave that. A kingmaker who normally crowns people now wanted to crown himself. Well, if I want to crown you now, I'm going to carry that crown and look at it properly. I look at your head and then know how to place it. But if I want to crown myself, I have to look for somebody who will now look at that thing to be able to fit my head. There's no way a kingmaker can crown himself. That is one. Two, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is qualified to contest anywhere. Forget about, people are talking about his zeal, people are talking about, no, I won't look at that. For me, he has made a lot of people in this country, either you like it or not. After IBB is BAT, that has made a lot of people in this country. IBB too made a lot of people. But the issue is this. Let Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Uncle Bola Ahmed Tinubu, sit down on his own. Be truthful to himself. Do his SWOT analysis. Okay? Do his SWOT analysis. And then be able to advise himself. What should I do in this dispensation? Is it to crown myself or to seek crown another person? So that, because there are benefits of when you do it properly. One, peace of mind. Long life. Prosperity. And again, people's, how do I put it now? People's acceptance. People's acceptance. A larger percentage of people's acceptance of your decision.
Okay, let me take you on here. I mean, you've talked extensively about Bola Ahmed Tinubu and presumably what he should do. Yeah. We're looking at what makes an ideal candidate, you know, juxtaposing it with Nigeria's socioeconomic and political challenges at this time. 2023, I said, is just 13 months away for the presidential elections, February. And in 13 months' time, what do you think, what are the qualities should we look for in an ideal candidate that would be able to address these issues we're facing, from security to economy to infrastructure, you know, the ideal candidate?
Yeah, I've already said it, the 3 C's, okay? But let me expatiate further. When you're talking about capacity in terms of economy, security, health, all the system, okay? But it's so unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. There is nobody who is a custodian of knowledge that will be able to be having capacity in all those areas. So what we now look at is, who is that person that knows how to annex resources to be able to achieve 1, 2, 3. Are you with me? We're now looking at capacity in terms of understanding variables. In terms of understanding variables, addressing those variables, and then bringing them together to achieve a particular purpose. And what's that purpose? A developing Nigeria, a working Nigeria. So we need to look at the action plans that we need to put in place, and then the timelines that you need to put at each for us to get to that place that we are aiming at. So who is that person that will be able to achieve that? 2, who is also that person that has that character in terms of looking at things objectively. Somebody who doesn't have hedonistic tendencies in terms of my pocket. Somebody who will not be using our money to buy presidential jets all of the time. Somebody who will have the kind of thinking of this guy in Singapore, the former leader of Singapore, who brought Singapore from the grass to grace. Who, when they were being invited for Commonwealth meetings, he will never go with a private jet. He will rather board an aircraft. But seeing his colleagues coming with private jets, parking those private jets for days, and then still using their money, the money of their country that is broke, to pay for parking and landing. But rather we use that money for something else, to address other infrastructural facilities. Somebody who will not believe that, look, I got to borrow money without looking inwards. Somebody who will not sell his people. Somebody who will not sell his people to outsiders because of what those people will give him. So that is the kind of character that that person must have. Compassion. In terms of, look, if I do this, if this policy is being made and this is being made, how does it affect the people? How does it affect the people? Is it affecting the people negatively or positively? If it's negatively, what alternative avails within the kitty of policies that is carrying like Father Christmas that it can now bring out and use? It's just like Father Christmas trying to give you a gift. And then he started to bring out that snake rubber. If he says that that snake rubber scares you, yes, he wants to give you a gift. That's the policy. But is it only snake rubber that he has? No. There are other things, like the turtle, like the jellyfish, like that plasticine that you can use to be molding, you know, because those are the things that Father Christmas always, you know, sometimes when I think of all those old days, you go to Kingsway, you go to Leventis to see Father Christmas, bringing out all those things. So those are things, those are the kind of compassion the leader we are looking for should have come 2023.
And this leader can come from any sphere, any tribe. It could be someone younger, because you mentioned that Bola Ahmed has made people just like IBB, and probably because he had, of course, had the opportunity to do that. He started from somewhere. Someone literally picked him up. Yeah. So probably all these things you mentioned can come from someone even way younger. You see,
let me quickly delve into that area of younger. Say, yeah, younger generation. Yeah, younger generation. You see, even in America today, what's the age of that president? I always tell people, it is not about age. It is not about age. It's about two things: insight and foresight. There must be a combination of those two factors. The foresight of the youth and the insight of the elders. Because when an elderly fellow sits down, what he sees, the young guy, no matter how tall he is, or let him even go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro, will not see it.
Experience.
It's even beyond experience. You cannot buy in the market. Look at your suit. Good on you. No matter how good this suit is on you, you cannot have those ones I have had in the past. You understand? That is, there is no kind of clothes you will have today. Can you compare what they are wearing today to damask of those days? I'm still looking for that damask I couldn't get.
Let me interrupt.
Or Guinea, or the Guinea we use in the past to what they are wearing today. No.
Let me interrupt you here.
Fashion evolves, yeah, okay?
Yeah, because you're indirectly or, seemingly saying that the youths may not be as well experienced as the elders.
Not necessarily. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, listen to this. What I'm saying is this. That the elders should allow the youth to take over. Yes. But then there's what we call learning process.
Okay.
Okay? Learning process. Don't say, I don't want to take your time. I will have given you the story whereby all the animals decide to kill their parents. There was famine. And all the animals said, okay, let us kill our parents. I want to say, yes, oh yeah, let us do that. And one decided to go and keep his own somewhere. When there was now trouble in the city, nobody to solve that riddle. Nobody. Even the so-called youths, they couldn't solve it. That guy, they now said, whoever that can solve it will become the king. The guy now went quickly to his own parents. He got the wisdom there, and he came back, and he solved the riddle, and that's how he became the king. If all the elders have been killed, all that city will have also collapsed. So what I'm saying is, yes, let the youth take over. Even these people you are calling elders, they were also youths when they took over. How old was Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was governor? When he was governor of Lagos, even when he was in the Senate. How old was Gowon when he was? How old was even this same Buhari when he was a governor? When he was in NNPC, and a whole load of them like that. Okay, so what I'm saying is, let the youth try as much as possible. They have the population to take over. No doubt about it. But then, when the youth get there, do they have, how many of them are having the requisite capacity, character, compassion that we are talking about? This day you see them. Do you know what those people pass through before getting there? Can you pass through that? Can you pass through that? Do you understand? What kind of pedigree do you have? What kind of background are you coming from? In terms of all those three factors that I've just enumerated. But in conclusion, we need both the insight of the elders and the foresight of the youth to push this country to where it's supposed to be.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daya. I was just waiting for that. The insight of the elders and the foresight of the youth. Great, nice to have you on the show today, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on this.
It's my pleasure anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Dr. Daya, political technocrat and an aviation expert, of course. So we'll take a very short break now. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with the social media buzz, the lighter segment for your viewing pleasure. We'll be right back. You're still on to iBrand Daybreak. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Dayo Kayode. And now we'll go right into the social media booth. Now that's a story that says, or rather a write-up there that says, Nigerian parents will scold you from childhood till adulthood and begin to wonder why you have no interest in having conversations with them. LOL. Free me, please. That's laughing out loud. Free me, please. And someone said, I remember when I tried having a conversation with my mom last year, trying to tell her why I don't tell her stuff. She was still shouting at me in the middle of the heart-to-heart conversation. And then someone else said, now this table I did, my own dad flogged me outside. He insulted me in front of my friends in public. When he asked about husband, I screamed at him and told him never to ask me such a thing. He quickly apologized. We can't be friends. Wow.
Well, there's another comment here from Trip Beats that says, this is sad. There's an important need to change the idea of parenthood for the coming generation. Most of our parents are broken and are yet to heal from it. They raised us with their brokenness filled with emotional abuse and a lot of stigmatization.
Wow.
Well, it's an interesting discourse, really.
This is broad, very broad.
It's broad. It's not something that, you know, is just segmented to just black and white. There are gray areas in between. The last comment, fellow who commented and talked about being raised, you know, from the angle of being broken, having several emotional abuse, they also have their own, you know, that's also a valid point if you want to say, really. What I think is this. They trained us to the best of their abilities. Now, was it good enough? Was it ideal enough? There are always debates for that back and forth. But to how they were knowledgeable about parenting, to how they were, you know, in capacity in terms of maybe finance or whatever, emotionally too, that's the way they trained us. It may not have been enough, but they did their bit. We should also understand that as fellow humans, we cannot dispute the fact that some parents, you know, projected their insecurities, their brokenness and all of that on the children, and they raised the children that way. For some of us, growing up, we never really had a relationship with our parents. It was just more of, you can't even say you respect them. Sometimes it's fear.
Come from a place of fear,
Fear,
right?
rather than respect, you know. Again, you can't blame them. They did their bit in how, to the best of their abilities. The onus lies on us to do better.
When we have children.
You know, when we have our own children. And I think that's what everyone should take from there, really, because we're also battling with our various emotional struggles, financial struggles, everything right about now. So the big question is, if you have a child now, will you also project some of those struggles on your child?
You know, sometimes you really cannot even tell on how good or bad we can be as parents, until we become parents.
Exactly. That's why I raised the question that right now, with the various challenges, you know, fellow individuals are going through in their lives, be it career or financially or whatever, can they, you know, will they rather still project those, you know, frustrations, struggles and all on the children they have while parenting them? So these are the issues. It's not, as I said, there are gray areas to it. It's not just a black and white thing. We all need to do better. That's it.
I think that's just the conclusion of it. And don't forget that whatever your parents do, most times it's from the place of love, and they portrayed love how they thought was best for them. Because I don't think any parents want to bring a child to the world to be rude or brash or to
exactly. And you can't dispute the fact that there will be few bad parents, no doubt about it. But the overwhelming majority just did the best they could. It may not have been good enough, but that was how well they could, you know, do it. It's now left for us to do better.
Yeah, I think that should be a pointer. So when you have kids, you look at those things that your parents did that you're not comfortable with, and make sure you do not do it, because it's always easy to say, right?
Exactly.
Until it's time to do. But I'm sure most of our parents did what they do from the place of love. Maybe fear of us not turning out the way they turned out.
Exactly. So that's why I said projecting that insecurity. You don't want your child to turn out the way it turned out. So you're being, you know, again, it's from the place of love, of, oh, okay, I don't want you to have to experience some of the bad, you know, moments or experiences I had. But probably the way they went about it
was not the right way.
At the end of the day, we all need to do better as individuals. And the goal is you should do better than the previous generation.
Correct.
So
there's always a room for improvement. I think there's a very broad conversation. I would like you to share your thoughts with us on our social media platform. Maybe by popular demand, we might tweet it one of these days. We never can tell. But then, that's something I've already said. It's good to do better, to project what you think is the best, even though to your children they might not even see that as the best anyway. But just do better as individuals. And everything's going to be fine. I think that's what
that's all to say, really. It's a sensitive topic, you know,
so
because you don't want to come across as being an ingrate, that you do not appreciate your parents' struggles or efforts in raising you. At the same time, when you consider it to what is deemed the ideal standard of parenting, you feel like, okay, there were so many lapses and they didn't meet up.
There's no ideal
exactly. That's why I, you know, did the whole quotation. Right? So there would always be back and forth.
The parenting style for your parents and my parents may be two different styles. Doesn't make yours superior to mine.
There would always be, you know, back and forth regards these things. At the end of the day, I know, you know, that calls for cordial relationship between children and parents, effective communication, so that children can see their parents not just as parents in that sense, but also as friends that they can confide in, they can talk to, and, you know, just have a very good relationship with. So I think that's what we all need to do at the end of the day.
All right, I think this is a good place to end this conversation. Like something I said, it's a very sensitive one. So we'll just end it right here. I'm sure you had fun on the show this morning. I did have fun too. I'm sure you also did. Something had fun.
Definitely.
All right, and it's a good place to say good morning to you once more. And according to wrap, I'll leave you with a quote here from Albert Einstein. Said, "We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them." We cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. And I'm glad somehow this quote just relates to this conversation now. You cannot solve problem of parenting with the kind of thinking your parents had to inculcate in bringing you up. So if you want the different results, you just have to do things differently. And always, don't forget, always do things from a place of love. I think that's the principal thing. That's the greatest commandment, if you ask me. Do things from the place of love. Correct from place of love. Solve problems from the place of love. Work with your annoying colleagues from the place of love. Support from the place of love. And share your food from the place of love too. All right.
Oh, I like that part. I'm coming over.
I'm coming over to you. I was going to say that for you. You know, we talked about this yesterday. Something after the show we'll discuss. Let's not wash our big clothes outside. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Do well to follow our social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, comment. Drop a comment for us. We'll reply you. And also, Start Time Channel 143 is your go-to channel for any interesting news, business, entertainment, sports updates you need. Join us tomorrow. My name is Margaret Opara.
And I'm Samson Lady. Thanks to Dr. Dayo who joined us on the show. Thank you to the production crew who made this possible as well. And to you, our viewers, you guys really make this show what it is. Thank you so much for joining us. Do have a wonderful day.